What's up, guys? That guy with the pencil here, and here we are to talk about Fire Emblem 3 Houses on this edition of the newly remastered Fiction Fridays. To quickly get into the premise, every Friday I'm just going to draw something that I thought was interesting in fiction that I read and or played and or watched, and I'm going to talk about that every Friday. Could it be manga? Yes. Could it be a game? Yes. Could it be a book? Yes. It's literally whatever I feel like talking about, whatever I feel like drawing that particular Friday. And today, we're going to be talking about some Fire Emblem 3 Houses, or at least my first playthrough of it. And I know I'm a bit late, very, very late. Like, the game came out last year, months ago already. All the reviews are out, all the waves of DLC already passed, but hey, I don't really care. I still want to talk about the game. I've been on a Fire Emblem kick recently, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So, I'll admit, I went into this game pretty much 99.999999999999999% blind, because I literally heard the game existed and remembered my positive experience with Awakening and disregarded my experience with Fates, heard a lot of good things about Fire Emblem Echoes. It was just like getting the Fire Emblem game for the Switch. Don't really care who's in it, don't really care what's in it. I don't care. I liked Fire Emblem Awakening. I have hundreds of hours put into that game. I know a lot of people say the story's bad and the characters are bad. I'll probably replay it again, and maybe do a Fiction Friday on that, because I still seriously have fond memories of that game. I think it's still great. But I went into the game totally blind. Like, I watched no trailers. I literally am learning about all like the trailer experiences and the whole delay and all that stuff after the fact, because Fire Emblem 3 Houses was never necessarily like on my radar. Just like Fire Emblem in general is never necessarily on my radar. I just happen to hear new games coming out, wait for that game to come out, get it, and play it. And that's how it's been, except for Echoes. I didn't play Echoes, but I did play Awakening. But I admittedly stumbled across Awakening. That's my thing. I completely stumbled across Awakening with no idea what it was whatsoever. It was just on sale somewhere. It looked like an interesting game. It's basically the same way I got into Kingdom Hearts, where I saw something that looked remotely interesting, played it, then realized I had a whole series behind it. Bought Fates when it first came out, got Conquest, didn't really like it. But that was that for me. And then I heard 3 Houses was coming out. I'm just like, you know what, 3 Houses, I'm gonna give it another chance. Sounds like there's multiple routes, because 3 Houses seems like it'll be a god game that'll give me a good amount of content out of it. For $60, I'll take it, and I got the game. So this means I knew nothing about the time skip. I knew nothing about the plot. I knew nothing about Crest. So I literally dove into the game pretty much 100% blind, and I have to say that was probably like the best way for me to play the game, because the game ripped the most visceral reactions out of me because of that, and I find that better. So let me talk about what I liked about the game. I do like a lot of the characters. Oh, by the way, I picked Black Eagles first, mainly because I didn't trust Claude when I first met him. He seemed way too shifty, and that whole Dimitri is a seemingly nice, well-composed man with a shadow behind him. I'm just like, I don't really feel like playing that right now, so I'm going to hold off on you, Dimitri. And that just left Edelgard, and Edelgard seemed like the least suspicious, especially since I saved her first. But, how wrong was I on that assumption? But I picked Black Eagles, 1, because of that. 2, I like the characters in Black Eagles a lot. I feel like I got more out of them off rip than I did any of the other houses, at least impression wise. I was just like, I kind of like these characters more in comparison to the others, and that's what led me to picking Black Eagles and honestly having a blast at the time of the game. However, spoilers everywhere, I guess. Like, I probably should have said that at the beginning, but the game's been out for months now. Spoilers for everything in the Silver Snow. I believe it's Silver Snow. That's the route name. Basically the church route, and I guess a little bit of Crimson Flower. And the reason that I was just having such a good time was, I guess it's because I went in totally blind, and I'm really, really slow to pick up on obvious details. Like, fun fact, I assumed that something was up with Sedith and Flame immediately, because I remember every time I got a new character, every time I went into the character roster to read about them or see their model, I was just like, wait a sec, they have question mark next to their age. But then also Manuela had question mark next to her age, and so did we. So I was always confused on that. But for some reason, the green hair just didn't even click with me, despite me knowing all about Manakets and their technical affinity for green hair like Noe and Tiki. It didn't click with me for forever. So I was just like, oh, that's perfectly fine. Didn't even really think about the fact that the only people that ever had green hair were Byleth after they absorbed Sothis herself, Rhea, Sedith, and Flame. Like none of that clicked to me because I'm slow, and I literally wanted to max out all the supports I have with my students because I like maxing out supports. I like hearing the support conversations and getting them myself. So I kept trying to get Edelgard's supports past her C+ support because I saw it seems like it may take a little bit more time for the support to build, and I took that as, oh, I just need to keep grinding the supports. Only for me, because my slow self did not realize there's a time skip. There's a time skip in the game because like I said, I went in totally blind, so I literally just kept wasting time trying to grind the supports. And it felt interesting building a connection to my class in a way that, yeah, we went through so many different battles and events and experiences, and it was just great. And I'll admit, I was very, very slow on recruiting other characters because I mainly just didn't really understand how to do it. I was just like, how am I supposed to build support? How am I supposed to do yada 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 yada? So by the end of part 1, the only 2 students I ended up really recruiting, I think I recruited all the faculty staff because I just accidentally stumbled across them. And the first person I remember accidentally stumbling across was Hanneman, who was asking me if he wanted help with my class. I was just like, or if I want to help with my class. I was just like, yeah, sure. Actually, no, I think I denied him at first because I thought it was like some rivalry thing, and then he was just like, oh, okay, I guess I won't help you out. And then it hit me in the back of my mind, like, oh, I may be able to recruit this guy. And I ended up doing that. So that was a nice welcome surprise. I didn't even know I could recruit the other teachers. Then I ended up stumbling across Felix because, of course, you have the Sword of the Creator. Byleth uses a lot of swords, so you end up getting that. And obviously, the strength cap gets really, really high whenever you're playing a whole ton of auxiliary battles like I was, grinding supports. And I ended up getting Ignatz too, and I guess because I may have used bows on Byleth a lot, I forget what Ignatz's requirements even were, but those were the only 2 people I recruited. And I'll admit, the game gave me a lot of mixed emotions, because for some reason, once again, my slow self, I didn't even think of, like, Edelgard being the Flame Emperor, despite in her C+ support showing me that she also had the Crest of Flames, and the fact that the Flame Emperor always seemed to show up when Edelgard was not on screen, and it was super obvious, but I was so captured with the world and the narrative that was being set up. I was just like, this is perfectly fine. Everything's perfectly fine. I'm going to trust Edelgard because everything's going to go great. We're going to be the best of friends. And I remember something that I don't like about the game, and it was the constant illusion of choice. It was the always, oh, each you can make choices and choose with your blank slate character. And I was just like, okay, I guess. Because one of the reasons I love Awakening so much is because, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I feel like Robin actually had a character, like an interesting character with their own quirks and ideas and motivations and stuff like that. And whenever you hit like the completely silent, in quotation marks, protagonist, where you're just answering questions for them, you know that the game developers don't have enough time, or typically they won't. If they're a massive game developer, they won't make those little options matter as much. So they just ended up boiling down the supports, and I was okay with it for the most part. Like, I guess I was fine with it for an extended period of time, but then I hit like chapter 14 with, I think it is chapter 14, where Edelgard asked me to go to Embar with her, and this big, massive, flashing point comes up on screen like, this is a very important story decision. I'm just like, what happens if I go to you with Embar? And no, this is after Gerald has died. This is after I've seen Edelgard doing multiple shady things, from apparently meeting with Caspar's father after the battle, even though they never talk and never like each other, and her talk with Monica, who ended up being Kronia, who ended up killing my dad. For some reason, I still have this blind trust in Edelgard, because I don't know, I guess I just figured I did. And I was just, but even still, like, something in the back of my mind told me, I don't want to do this. Something bad is going to happen if I go and do this. And I didn't. And I guess it led to an interesting story progression, because I ended up looking it up, because one thing I did constantly throughout my first playthrough was I looked up things, because I thought everything mattered at first. I looked up every answer to the tea time situations. I looked up every answer to what food people would like, how to grow things, stuff like that. But I never looked up anything in concern with the story. But I did end up looking up that major story choice. But I was just like, what happens if I go with Edelgard? And I skimmed it as quick as possible. And it was just like, whole new route unlocks. I'm just like, you know what? No, I want to complete this route first. So I go through this route. And I get to the end of part 1, where Edelgard and Hubert betray me. And I guess since I had so much trust in at least Edelgard, Hubert was always shifty, that's just his character design, quite literally. But I had so much faith in Edelgard. But for her to betray me like that hit different. That hit very, very different. And I feel like what hurt even more about it was the fact that I should have seen it coming. Like, all the obvious hints the game was dropping me should have obviously made me realize, oh yeah, of course Edelgard's evil. Of course this is how it's going to go. But since I didn't watch any of the trailers, I had no idea what was going on. I just assumed that, like, 3 different routes, blah blah blah, would be like slight variations on certain things. And to be fair, that's according to what I've heard and what I've seen and watched, that's what they are. But I was just like, wow, you're really gonna do this? I thought we had something special, Edelgard. Like, I thought I really trusted her, and for her to betray me like that hurt. And what got me even more was Hubert's betrayal, because it hit so different. Like, it's wild to think about, but it hit so different because I wasted a Dark Seal on Hubert. Because Hubert was like my primary mage, obviously. He was the big, obvious attacker. I figured, he can definitely become a Dark Bishop. He can have this hard-earned Dark Seal. Everything should be perfectly fine with that. And I remember grinding him up on a certain map, and I was so proud of him because he was doing so many good things. Like, he was getting good level ups in that map. It was on a beach. I think it was either a paralog or an auxiliary battle. He was doing good. He wasn't wasting the Dark Seal. Everything seemed perfectly fine. And then they both betrayed me and abandoned me and attacked Garrett Mock. And I was just like, oh, so that's how y'all feel, huh? And even still, all of that, I still think that's a really good, solid story. I think that's great. And the betrayal hit different. It really did. So that's what established Edelgard as our main villain for the game. And I was like, oh, well, that's a massive yikes. That's the mightiest of oofs. But I rolled with it. I was just like, okay, what's gonna happen here? So time skip occurred, and I was just like, I've been slept for 5 years. Okay, I guess I pulled a Sothis and just slept for forever. And then when you wander back to Garrett Mock, I don't know why I didn't expect this, but when I tell you, I was playing the game super late at night, and I was just like, man, I'm super tired, but I really want to get through this chapter. So Seth rolls up. I'm just like, hey Seth, because I didn't like Seth much at this point. I didn't trust Seth much at this point either. Like, Edelgard made me super jaded on this game. I didn't trust anybody who had any point of authority in this world, because I'm just like, well, you gonna betray me too? I don't trust you now, dog. And Seth showed up, and then one by one, my students showed up, and I can tell you almost as an actual factual, I started crying in the club because it was so late, so I was in a very, very vulnerable emotional state, and I was just like, I actually started legitimately bawling seeing my students come back, even though I just seen them like not even 10 minutes ago. Seeing them all grown up, having them come back for me after 5 years, all of us ganging up and destroying those bandits and going back to Grim, all of it just hit so different, and it was so fun. I loved every single part of that battle. And then I was just like, wow, we literally do have a time skip. Milo doesn't change. Neither does Seta, neither does Flank, neither do any of the adults, which I was kind of disappointed with. I know, well, they're already adults, they can't change much, but like, Edelgard was already an adult. A lot of these students were already, like, I think Mercedes is 26? No, I think she was like 21 pre-time skip, so a lot of these students, in quotation marks, are already adults, so I was hoping like everyone would come back with a newly mixed up design. I was hoping that Byleth would change his design. I was hoping for a lot more, but even still, what I got I really enjoyed. And then we just literally had the war against Edelgard and those who slither in the dark. And what I do take issue with is Like, the story's pacing goes a little bit wacky around this point, because I feel like part one, and what my route I'm playing now is I'm playing Golden Deer, and I feel like part one is still solidly paced. Part one so far has been the most solidly paced part of the game. Like, he does good to introduce you to characters, introduce you to plot points, all that good stuff. Everything seems to work out very, very well. However, what doesn't seem to work out very, very well is anything that comes down to time skip, at least, especially in Silver Snow, because it seems like it just hits you really, really fast with plot point after plot point after plot point after plot point, without ever really considering the ramifications of each individual plot point. Like, I specifically remember the Battle of Eagle and Lion, Part 2, when we went to that battlefield on Gronder Field, and it was kind of just, it was super weird, because I'm just like, okay, so 2/3, 3/4 of us are all fighting the Empire. What are we doing here? Why am I fighting Claude? Why am I fighting Dimitri? I was just wondering, what am I doing here? Why are we not allies in this? Why don't I have a whole bunch of Rangers? Why are we all just jumping Edelgard? And to be fair, I would have been perfectly fine if Edelgard had just like a massive wall of units, because as long as you had the support from the other two nations, I feel like that would work. And like, having there was this weird scene. I wonder, yeah, it obviously happens in everyone's game, but when it was just like, are you worried more about Claude or Dimitri? And Claude's shifty self, I was just like, he's alive. I know he is. He probably retreated. And it was Dimitri who I was worried about, because it was just like, a lot of stuff happened to Dimitri apparently. So he had lost his eye, he was in raggedy armor, his hair was all messed up, and there was some ghost of Dimitri. I thought that was gonna lead to something, but it was just like some empty plot point. I don't know. And then the game just picks up, and you get to Enbar and you kill Edelgard. And I guess that's what I should have expected, but I feel like, what was the point of me building this connection with this student and not being able to even like talk to them? She just instantly resolves to just kill me, Professor. And I'm just like, why would I suddenly need to kill you? I've defeated you, I've routed your army, I've dismantled everything you've stood for so far. We can talk about this. Like, but no, the game is just like, no, you have to kill Edelgard. I was just like, but why though? And then the route didn't even end there. Like, it'd be one thing if the route ended there. It was just like, well, that's a big old oof. But then this is where the game's pacing just goes nuts again. It jumps on to the next villain, which is Thales and those who slither in the dark. And I guess it makes logical sense why that's our next villain, because, you know, they're the ones who powered Edelgard this entire time. But what still just doesn't make sense to me is just like, why were these not the main people that we were fighting? Because obviously they're evil. They did experiments on Edelgard. They infiltrated the entire monastery. They did so many horrible things. What was Edelgard doing working with them? And even Edelgard didn't trust them. So it doesn't really make sense that why were these not the main antagonists? Why were we not constantly fighting against them and working with them? And Edelgard always says, oh, I don't like what they do. Or as the Flame Emperor, she's always critiquing them, but she never does anything about it. So that always confused me. I was just like, huh? Why don't you just work with me and we deal with the threat as a unit rather than taking them on separately? Why? And like, Edelgard's plan to unite Foldland is a nice idea, but it's just a nice idea because the way she did it, it's horrible. She caused so much slaughter, so many massacres, all that stuff, to admittedly overthrow what is a corrupt and imbalanced system. But like, it easily could have been more organized, so the threat was focused on the threat. Like, one look at Claude and you can tell he also didn't really vibe with the current system of things. The only trouble she may have had was Dimitri, but from what little I know of their relationship, she actually knew Dimitri, so I could imagine that the three future leaders of their respective parts of Folden could have came together and could have used their power as a whole unit, as a whole continent against Rhea. And I know for a fact there isn't a route where that happens, and it doesn't make sense. I was hoping when I first finished the game, I'm jumping a little bit ahead, I was hoping when I first finished the game there was not a true ending, or like there's a final route, like a Route 5 where you get all 3 lords, you can combine all 3 houses, and you can collectively work against those who stood in the dark, or Rhea, or both, or whatever, and we could just get like a mostly happy ending. But no, Edelgard always has to die, unless you're playing Crimson Flower, and in that case, Dimitri and Claude always have to die. And I'm just like, okay. I mean, I guess it displays the true grim, dark realities of war, but like, I guess that like some people aren't redeemable, even though Edelgard seemed pretty redeemable. I mean, Dimitri is apparently redeemable, and he's slaughtered many. And I don't know much about Claude. I'm in the middle of Golden Deer, and I'm still not entirely sure what we're doing other than stopping Edelgard. So that was always a toss up. And then you just get like 3 or 4, maybe 5, who knows? Well, the game knows. I could easily look this up right now, but I'm not going to. All I know is that fighting those who stood in the dark was amazingly rushed, like super last minute. We need another villain, blah blah blah, to extend the chapter time, and you just go do like 4 or 5 quick missions. You have Rhea in the back, and I'm just like, okay, I'm still constantly waiting for Rhea to become a unit, because I always remember getting support points with Rhea, but I should have realized also got support points with Gerald, and he never ended up being playable, so it always just hurt. And she was in the background from that point, so I thought she was going to come help us at some point. I honestly hoped that we were going to get like a Maniket, because the way the game just flaunts these beasts in front of you, you'd think that, Maniket time, but you never get it. And then you just go defeat those who slid in the dark, like it's no problem. You just invade their underground city, and bada bing, bada boom, they're gone. Like, for such a massive integrated threat for Fulden, you think they'd get more time, you think they'd have more organization or more leadership, but they didn't. It's just Thales, and Thales dies really, really quickly and inefficiently, and that was boring. Didn't really make much sense. And then I'm just like, okay, now the game is done here, right? Because we defeated both the big bad guys. Then we come back to Rhea and we report, and then suddenly she just goes crazy and we have to kill her. And I remember hearing it, because this is one of the few games I keep the volume on, 1, because the music is fire, and 2, because it's voice acted, obviously. And Seth literally says something along the lines of, blah blah blah, she's gone crazy, we have to kill Rhea. And I wanted to slam my head through my desk, because I'm just like, why? Why is this what we're doing? What in the world? What is this? Like, I literally questioned myself after getting to that point, after getting to the final chapter. I was just like, what am I playing? What am I playing that it just went this ludicrously nuts? Like, I know Awakening had enemy after enemy after enemy. Like, you started off against Budget, then you went to the Valmies, then you had to fight Valadar, then you had to fight Grima. Like, I understand that, and I really do, but at least that was a constant external threat. Like, Rhea literally was healing the entire time. What made her go nuts? And we had to go and kill her. Like, it's weird because Seth says it too. Like, Seth is the person who's been alongside Rhea for millennia at this point. He's one of the original Saints. Obviously, he's been there for forever. So he doesn't say we have to subdue Rhea. He doesn't say we have to heal Rhea. He doesn't say we have to stop Rhea from causing more damage. We have to kill Rhea. And I'm just like, why? This is and I'd known at this point, because I'd done a little bit more research, and I'd gotten so far in the game, I was getting really, really annoyed with the story. This was the church route. Why are we killing everyone? It killed Edelgard. Like, the only point of murder that I understand in the story is those who slid in the dark. It doesn't make sense to kill Edelgard, because now the Adrestian Empire has no central form of leadership. Neither does, I'm pretty sure Claude flees in the church route, because we never see him again. He just gives us the one last bit of information through a letter, and I think he runs. And Dimitri's dead. So, what, like, I guess that leaves for the ending of the narrative for Byleth to take over all of Foldland, and I suppose that's supposed to be a happy ending? Like, the story loses its good mind by the end of it. And I was just like, ooh, this is not very solid. And that's really my issue with the church route specifically. Like I said, I cannot attest to the other routes just yet, because I haven't played them. I've only heard a lot about them. I've watched a lot of videos on them. So there are probably going to be multiple editions of this variation of Fiction Friday where I'm simply talking about Fire Emblem Three Houses, because there are 3 separate routes to play. And to admit, I put over 185 hours into this game already. Or like, I think someone looked at my account and was just like, oh nah, dog, you put in like 247 hours in total. And I guess that makes sense, because I really still do enjoy the game. I enjoy the combat, I enjoy the strategy, I enjoy everything about this game, and especially the characters. It's just that the story kind of, at least in Silver Snow, the story lost its mind. It had horrible pacing towards, and basically all of time skip, to be fair. And that was really that. If I had to say some of my favorite characters that I had to pick out, Petra, easy favorite. I even ended up really liking Felix, because he was one of the few other swordsmen that were in my group. End up liking Shamir a lot. I didn't like Catherine. I didn't like Catherine. I didn't like Aloise. Ended up liking Bernadette a lot. I did a whole ton of things because the characters were great, and I think that's what kept me through. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, these are one-note characters just like in Awakening, and I'd be like, well, I enjoy these one-note characters because I find them fun. That's really my view on that. Do I need to play some of the old Fire Emblem games to get some of those great stories and great characters? Yes. Am I going to do that anytime soon? Maybe. But as of right now, I still really like Three Houses. Off that one route though, do I like it more than Awakening? No. I think Awakening will always hold a special place in my heart as the first Fire Emblem game I ever played. And that's really that. If I had to say what I would change about the church route specifically, don't kill Rhea. Spare Edelgard. Make the focus those who serve in the dark. Make them the focus, make them primary antagonists. Give them some variation of power. I know it exists. I know it exists in other routes. I think it's in Golden Deer where those who serve in the dark are the end-all be-all antagonists, and that works out because, they're the one part of Fulden that no group likes. Edelgard doesn't trust them. Dehal doesn't trust them. Dimitri doesn't trust them. And even Rhea doesn't trust them. So all 4 sections didn't align with them, so I still don't get why they weren't the final endgame antagonist. It doesn't make much sense to me. However, regardless, I still really do enjoy Fire Emblem Three Houses. I still am going to play all 3 other routes. I'm still going to try and absorb all their stories, all their different characters, all the different supports, and probably going to hear me talk about the game again later, but they're probably going to be shorter than this. And I may do, not a review, because I feel like reviews and stuff like that, I feel like I wouldn't be covering new ground. So I'll literally just talk about aspects of the game. This is literally just a general story overview and what I really liked about the game. So I may do a final encompassing after I played all 4 routes, talk about the game, what I like and really dislike, because there are a lot of things I do dislike about this game, as much as I like a lot about this game. But regardless, I'm rambling along for a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment. If you like what you heard and you want some more Fire Emblem content, because there's going to be coming, and immediately as I finish the game, as I talk about other games or replay old Fire Emblem games, those are going to be coming, so please stick around and subscribe if you like what I do. That'd be great, that'd be fantastic, it always helps. Even if you didn't like the video, leave the dislike if you want, and just tell me in the comment section why you didn't like the video. I'm perfectly fine with that, and always tell me how to improve. If there's anything else you would like me to talk about on Fiction Friday, because I know there are a lot of things that there's always going to be a piece of fiction for me to talk about, because I'm always consuming more of it. But if there's anything you want me to specifically talk about, I'm perfectly fine with that. Anyways, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and this is that guy with the pencil, writing off.